This is a podcast video for the online presentation software Prezi. Now, I'm already logged in on my computer, so I already have this new Prezi in the middle. Now, most people will have to sign up if they haven't previously got an account. You only need your first name and surname, email and password to do this. Prezi then gives you some free storage in regards to storing some of your Prezis. It will try and get you to pay for a subscription. If you want to pay for a subscription, you can make your Prezis private if you want. At the moment, for the free version, you will just get the public version, which means people can look at your Prezis. Obviously, due to copyright, they can't steal any of your content, but they could effectively look at your Prezi. So you'll get a similar screen to this when you first start and you log in, but you'll just get this new Prezi in the middle. Now, I've already got Prezis dotted about, and I've also got some folders. Just as a point of view, you've got your Prezis, which you can click at the top left at any time. That'll take you straight back to whatever Prezis that you've got saved up. Obviously, I've already got quite a few. There's a learner support option. Now, this is really good for frequently asked questions. There's also quite a lot of video resources on there. And there's also a lot of inspiration and sort of forums where you can ask questions specifically if you want an answer to something that you find a little bit tricky. And there's also an explore option. Now, this is your option to actually look at what other people are doing with Prezi, how creative people are getting. It's quite good for inspiration, and you can also see what other people have presented in regards to a specific topic that you're looking at. For the purposes of this now, we'll have to just click on New Prezi. Now, it takes a little bit of a while to load up. It is an online-based software, so it is loading all the features, all the tools for you to use. You can download a version of it for Mac and PC. And you can also download a version for iPad, although you have limited options in regards to how you create Prezis on an iPad. It's quite good for presenting, but for actually making the Prezis, possibly not as useful. Now, the first page you'll be met with is a Choose Your Template page. Now, I can't stress enough that you take time in regards to picking what specific template you would like to use. It's something that you can't particularly go back and change. You can make adjustments to colour, but you can't go back and change the main basis of an actual template. So it's really important that you take time to pick the right one now. You can start a blank Prezi if you so wish and start completely from scratch, build it from top to bottom, or bottom to top, sorry. And you'll be able to manipulate in regards to images you put in, what colour the frames will be, but we'll go into that in a bit more detail later. So for the purposes of this, I'll just pick this one here. I just need to highlight it and then click on Use Template. It'll now load up as such. Now, this is the main page that you'll use while you're creating your presentation online. Limited in regards to what you can actually do. It will auto-save every couple of minutes or when you make a major change. And one important thing to do is you have this little thing on the left hand side, which is basically your timeline of frames. Now, it works similar to PowerPoint and Keynote that you might have used previously. The main difference is, as much as you think that these might be slides, they're actually frames. What you need to think about with Prezi is that it's actually a camera. You're asking the camera to move around a point of view to look at. The whole presentation is on one page. We're looking at the main overview of the page right now. If I click on this second circle, I will then move to where the number 2 is on the PowerPoint, well, Prezi, and then we'll move into that actual frame. It'll make more sense when I click on it. So I'll click on it and the camera moves to focus on that. If I now click on 3, it'll move to where I've asked the camera to move to on number 3. This is all preset to start off with, so don't worry if you're not really understanding what's going on. This is already preset. At any point you like to go back to the beginning, you can just click on the first one. So, some basic tools. You're given some title boxes to start off with. So basically I can just left click here and I can write some text. Now, the title of mine for today is going to be Managing Classroom Behaviour. I have a few options in regards to how I might want to change that text. I can change it to a subtitle, which sometimes isn't that different from the title, depending on what font you're using, which is more of an advanced set, not something I'm going to look at today. Or you can change it to a less bold version of that same font. It's totally up to you. For this, I actually want to use title, so I'm going to click back onto title. You can make it smaller or larger by clicking on these two buttons here. Obviously, the larger letter makes the font size larger. You can change the colour to preset colours that are defined. You can make it bold if you wish, italic. You can also pick a background colour for the actual box. And obviously you can't read that, so I need to change the colour to make sure I can read. You can have basic bullet points, and you can do some really basic justification, but apart from that, that's all you can do. Now if you click off at any point, left clicking on your mouse, you've then got an overview. If I actually think I'd like to change this, notice how when I hover over it, it highlights. If I now left click, I get the option to move this or edit it in a certain way. Now I can click on this hand in the middle, and if I hold left click down, I can then move with my mouse and move this to wherever I like. Now notice that we're on the first frame on the left hand side, so wherever I move this, the camera will still stay focused on that square that we're looking at right now. It'll make a bit more sense as we go through. So that's my first slide. I want people to see managing classroom behaviour. So if I move into the second one, I might go straight in. If you left click on anything, you can add text. So I'm now going to click on type Bill Rogers. Now clicking to add text, I can write whatever I like here. So Doctor of Education and Behaviour Management Expert. Again, you've got the same options. I might think I'd like to make that smaller or bigger. Any point you'd like to click off that, you can click off with your left mouse button. If I now want to move this, now it's highlighted, I know that I can select it by clicking on my mouse. I can move it by using that hand. I can also use the arrow keys on the keyboard, although it does take a long time to move, so I wouldn't suggest doing that if you want to move it a large amount. You can change the size of it by just like you would on Microsoft Word, and you can also change the rotation. Now I'll go into rotation a little bit later. It's not something I want to focus on just yet. So basic content that I'm adding now. When I move to number 3, I think I would like to insert a video clip. So I'll type video clip and I'll go up to insert at the top here. Now you've got lots of options. You can insert an image. Just to show you, I'll do that now. You can select a file from your own computer, or you can search directly on the web, which is really handy. You don't have to leave Prezi to find an image. You can go straight to the Google search function in Prezi to find something. It's funny because none of them are the Bill Rogers that I want it to be. Try and be a bit more specific. See if I can get one to come up. There we go. Now if I double click this, it will then pop it into my Prezi. It's processing the image at the moment, so it's downloading it from Google and putting it into my Prezi. Now I can make this bigger by dragging it. I can plus and minus it as well to make it bigger or smaller, and then I can move it wherever I like after that. It's too big at the moment, so I want to move it over possibly to one side. So I'm then going to put a video in next to it. Now you have got options in regards to what you want to do with it. You could crop it. There's basic effects that you can use, and you can also favourite it. So if I'm going to use this photo multiple times in this presentation, I might want to favourite it, and obviously you can delete it. If I just click off that. For now I don't want any text there. So I can I'll type for now, which will make it easy for me to delete that box. There we go. There's no content in it, so I couldn't delete it. Now I'd like to insert a video. So I'll click on YouTube video. It just tells me to insert the link. I've already got one open here. So if I just copy that link over and click on insert, it will then put this video in to my presentation for me. Again, I can move this over here if I wish. Make it a little bit smaller. Now when you actually go to present, at any point if you want to check, just like you would on PowerPoint, you normally come down here to the little icon to click on present. Now it's up at the top on Prezi. This will just give you an idea of how your presentation is going to look so far. So if I click on it now, it'll take me into the presentation. So obviously I'll allow keyboard controls, which is handy if you've got a clicker, because you can move through the PowerPoint with the clicker, or Prezi. So if I right click now on the arrow key, I will move to this Bill Rogers thing in the centre. So it zooms into there. Because the next frame that I want to look at is the picture in the video, it will then move up to the right hand side, top left. Now if I want to play this video, I need to make it clear to Prezi that I want to play it. So I can click play and it will automatically resize. Prezi doesn't know that I want to play this video, and it gives you the option to decide yourself, which I think is quite useful. Obviously I'm not going to play this whole video right now just for the sake of it. If you right arrow again, it'll give you an overview of the actual clip, and then again we'll go on to the next thing. At any point, if you like to exit this, you can go down to the bottom right, or you can press escape on your keyboard. So, other insert options are content that you already have. You can draw arrows, you can add some background music, you can also add from a file, and you can actually import slides from PowerPoint. So if you've already got a presentation in PowerPoint, you've got the option to import all those slides into Prezi and build your presentation from there. Now going back to these frames on the left hand side, you can move through them by using the arrow keys or by clicking on them. This is basically the path of where you want the camera to go. I'll get rid of this on the right hand side because we don't need it right now. So I might now call this incentives and sanctions, just to add some content. Why do we reward learners for good behaviour? Just to add some more content on. Now, if I want to edit how these are viewed in the actual camera, I can click on one and move it. So I've now added incentive and sanctions, and I'm thinking, well, I want to show that before the video. So I can just hold down with the left mouse button and move it. This will then reorder my presentation. So instead of going to the video third, and I'll zoom into this one, and I'll skip to the next one, incentives and sanctions, and then I will go back to the video one. You can click on edit path, but this might blow your mind slightly. It does include lots of arrows. To zoom in and out at any point, you can use a scroller on your mouse, which is quite handy. If you go over here, you can zoom in and out with this option over here. Now, editing path does make it slightly complicated. I tend to avoid using that because it overcomplicates things. If I want to move the order, I can just move them by left clicking and dragging them where I want to go. There's not much more I'd really like to do in regards to that. At any point, I can click, come back in here. Now, you might think, great, I'm getting on well with my Prezi, but I've only got 10 frames. How am I going to fit all my content in there? Up here, you've got the option to add a frame. If you left click, it will just literally plonk that frame onto your Prezi. You then might need to move it and include it into what you're doing. So I want to move it down here. I might want to make it a little bit bigger to make sure it looks like it's meant to be there. And then of course, I'd possibly insert an arrow here to make it look more like it should actually be there. So I'll draw this arrow. Obviously it's straight, but I can put a little curve in it like that, just to make it look more like it should be there. If I click off it, I can now click on it and move it. So it looks a little bit more like it should be there. I can make it smaller or larger, thinner, regarding to which I want to do. I can change the style of it. Not something I really want to play with around right now. I've added a new frame in there. If at any point you want to look at a frame, you can left click on it. Now you won't go into that frame unless you go up here and click zoom to frame. That'll take you into that actual frame to show what the camera's going to look at. Now you might not want circles in your Prezi. You might think actually that's quite distracting, especially in regards to my video. I want to get rid of this picture now, let's say, and I want to make the video the size of my frame. But of course, it's almost getting in the way a little bit, this circle, because it's restricting how big I can actually make this and still make the design look nice. So I think I might want to change the size of the frame. Now you need to click on the frame, which is sometimes quite difficult to do when you're in the actual zoomed in version. We're here, so I just suggest zooming out a little bit. If you then hover over it, if you notice there's a tiny white line that's been highlighted. If you now left click, you can click onto that. Now this little circle in the middle is the actual frame size of what your frame options. So you can change this. You could change it to a bracket if you so wish. You could change it to a rectangle. You could completely remove the frame, or you could make it invisible. Some people like the invisible because we can't see a frame around it, but the camera will move to wherever this blue outline is currently showing. For the purposes of this, I'd quite like to go for a rectangle. Now I'll zoom back into the frame, and I'll think actually I'd like to move or get rid of this one. So I'm going to move that a little bit down. I'm also going to change that to a rectangle. This now gives me a bit of scope. start moving my content around, filling it up a little bit more into the page, a bit more appropriate for what I want to do. Now, one of the main other features of Prezi that kind of makes it a little bit interesting in regards to how you move through your journey as such, is you can rotate individual frames. So, for example, if I now click on this frame, I then get these options to make it bigger or smaller. I can now rotate this, and the camera will rotate from one position to the next. Now, I'll do rotation on a couple of frames because it'll make it a lot more obvious in regards to what's going to happen. So I'll do it the other way on this one. Number 5, I'll put a slight the other way so you can see. Now, if I click on number 1 here and I move through, you will see the camera move in a slight rotation. It's sometimes quite nice to show a journey. It's quite nice to have a little bit of rotation, just to make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more visual. The best thing about this is you can make this frame as big or small as you so wish. I've added a frame to this Prezi. I might so wish to make this as small as possible. Obviously I'm going to have to zoom in now because I'm getting a little bit too far out. That is really small. Oh. If you click at any point, you will open an automatic text box. That's really important to remember. It can be a little bit frustrating because at the moment I'm trying to click on that frame. But it's important to know if you just want to add some text. Right, it's giving me the option now. So I'm going to move this, make it bigger for now, just so I can see what I'm doing. If you hold the left mouse button down, you can move the actual page around. If you just scroll your mouse around, that's really nice to do if you just want to nudge slightly. Now, what I'm going to attempt to do here is I'm going to make this circle absolutely minute, as small as I can possibly make it. It's quite a nice design feature, this. I'm going to try and make it so it fits into that dot on the eye, which I can do quite easily actually. You won't be able to see this from a long distance, but it adds quite a nice dimension. So I can zoom to this frame, and that's literally as much as I can zoom in. I might leave this as a references page. What's really nice about this is you can add layers to your actual presentation. It always adds a new frame to the end of your path, so at the moment I might want to move this up so it comes just after we look at this actual frame that's got the eye on it. So if I do it here, for example, you'll see a massive zoom in now. So when I go to the next frame, I will be going into that. Quite a nice little transition. Now, a couple of other things in regards to how you can work Prezi. You can add a basic animation. Now, if you notice, this is highlighted over here. If you then click on Edit Path, you've got a little star next to it. Now, if you left click your mouse on that, it'll give you the option to actually fade something in. If you hover over it, it'll tell you what you're actually suggesting that you do. So apply fading effect here. It's added it because there's a little green swooshy star coming in. If I want to then get rid of that, I can click on it. I can also give a preview of what it'll look like. That's how it will look. I quite like the look of that. I'm done editing. I'd like to see how that works in regards to my actual presentation. So I'm going to click on present and check. So when I move now, what should happen is it should appear on the right click, which it does. And then if I want to play it, I can press play. Because I've already started the video, Prezi doesn't know that I want to zoom into it. So it's really important that you finish the video or leave it back at the beginning when you start a new Prezi. It's always important not to leave a video clip playing, but it might interact with any background music that you've got. Now I need to exit the presentation at the minute because I'm in present mode. Now, a couple of other things that you can do. You can make some minor adjustments. So if you go up to customize, you can make some minor design changes in regards to a colour scheme. You can completely change the background image if you so wish. You can make slight adjustments. I'll change one now just so that you can see what it looks like. Sometimes it completely reformats everything you've added in regards to text, so it's not always the best idea to do this once you're into a Prezi. You should always do this at the beginning. It's always important to work out these things at the beginning because it causes you less stress as you kind of move through creating your presentation. Now, I'm not happy with that, so I'm going to revert back to my original because I'm quite happy with that. Now, at the moment, it's automatically saved. If I want to go back a step, I can do that, but I can only go back so many. One important thing is it won't save multiple versions, so if you change something, it will override it. It's really important to keep that in mind. Now I've finished my Prezi, I might think, well, what would I like to do with it next? When I click on the share button, I could share it with other people and they can collaborate. I can share it on Facebook, and I can download it as a PDF. Always quite handy to do this because you're never sure when the network might be down in regards to you turning up to a presentation. The last thing you'd want to do to a big important meeting or interview is turn up with a Prezi and the network be down and not have a backup. You can also download it as a portable Prezi. So if you had a laptop with you or an iPad, you could plug that into a smartboard projector, carry on with your Prezi regardless of what the systems were working in regards to internet connectivity. Now if I exit, it does actually save, so don't worry about it not saving. If I now exit, it should pop this next to the new Prezi sign that we've originally started with, back on the first page. First of all, it will give you an idea of what's going on. It's titled it for me. I might want to change that, but I'm quite happy with it at the minute. I might want to download it or save it. It's totally up to me. I might just do a quick preview of how it's going to look. But right now I'm happy with that. I'm going to click back on your Prezis. This will take me back to the home page, and my Prezi should pop up on the right here. Yep, there it is. I've got other Prezis that I've created on here as well. Just to show you what the other ones look like. Options, learner support, some top tips and videos, some answers, some forums. You can even go on some online training if you so wish to improve your skills. Now, Explore is a really good way to start in regards to you picking or gaining some inspiration. It's really important that you do this at the start. It's really difficult to start making tweaks after you've started your presentation, so it's really important you do this stuff at the beginning. Apart from that, I really hope you've enjoyed this little introduction to Prezi. Obviously, I've not covered all the points in Prezi. I've just covered the absolute basics, but I have signposted you to some additional support in regards to what you could do if you're stuck at any point or you just want some inspiration to make your presentations a little bit more interesting. Thank you very much for your time. This was a podcast for Prezi. Good luck with your presentations. Hopefully you'll get on well with using the software. It's worked really well for me so far. Hopefully it'll work well for you guys. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Happy hunting.